The Cleveland Browns are officially in the eye of a storm. And no, it's not about a blown coverage or a missed field goal. It's about a quarterback controversy that's now spiraling into franchise-defining territory. Because what started as a preseason position battle has turned into a full-blown fan uprising. And the message from the Browns faithful is crystal clear. Cut Dillon Gabriel. Start Shedeur Sanders. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. No more games. No more politics. You can practically hear the chants echoing through social media. Twitter, Reddit, TikTok. Every Browns comment section is on fire, and the flames are being fed by a simple, brutal truth. Shedeur Sanders has done everything right. And Dillon Gabriel? Not so much. Let's rewind just a little. Shedeur came into camp a fifth-round pick. Not some flashy first-round savior. Not a legacy starter with guaranteed reps. He was expected to be a long shot, depth, a developmental guy, a maybe, someday, possibly quarterback. But from the moment he stepped on the field, he didn't just hold his own, he commanded the offense. Poise, accuracy, leadership. The checklist was being ticked off in real time. And yet, despite all that, he's still being held back. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel, who's been shaky at best, has somehow retained a higher standing on the depth chart, even after botched drives, even after questionable throws, even after that sideline interview that has now become the stuff of PR nightmares. Remember that moment? The one where Gabriel, dripping with passive-aggressive arrogance, made what many saw as a direct dig at Shedeur? Some guys are here to win. Others are just here to entertain. Whether he meant it the way it sounded doesn't matter anymore. The quote landed. It hit the fan base like a gut punch. And within hours, the backlash had gone nuclear. And here's the thing. Gabriel tried to walk it back. He released a half-hearted clarification in a press conference, claiming it was taken out of context and not about anyone in particular. Yeah, sure. The internet doesn't forget, and Browns fans, they're not buying it. Especially not when Shedeur's response to all of this was pure, silent class. No clapbacks, no cryptic tweets. Just more work, more drills, and more highlight throws in practice. He didn't even need to say a word, because his game did the talking. And the fans? They've picked their side. Every open practice is a mini rally. Every throw Shedeur completes draws louder cheers. Fans are wearing his college jersey to training camp. Kids are making homemade signs with #Let2Cook scribbled in Sharpie. And after each Gabriel misstep, the boos are starting to creep in. It's getting ugly. So now all eyes are on head coach Kevin Stefanski. And let's be honest, he looks rattled. Every time the quarterback situation comes up in a presser, he gives the same vague, tired answer. We're evaluating all options. It's still early. We like what we're seeing from the whole room. Coach, come on. No one's buying it. Because there's a difference between being methodical and being indecisive. And right now, Stefanski's hesitation is starting to look a whole lot like the latter. Almost like he's afraid to make the right call because of who it might upset behind the scenes. The locker room? Divided. The media? Growing restless. The fans? 1 inch from staging a protest in Berea. And it's not just Cleveland echo chambers fueling this. National analysts are jumping in too. Shannon Sharp said flat out on his podcast that Gabriel knew exactly who he was talking about, and he just didn't have the guts to own it. Chris Canty went further, calling Gabriel a liability in the locker room, and praising Shedeur for displaying more leadership in silence than Gabriel has with Mike in front of him. Oof. Meanwhile, Shedeur just keeps elevating. In red zone drills, he's threading needles. In hurry-up reps, he's calling audibles like a vet. When he's under pressure, he doesn't panic. He processes, adjusts, and delivers. You know who else notices? The receivers. They're gravitating toward him. They're catching passes and coming back with nods of respect. That matters. The connection between QB and wide out, it's chemistry. It's trust. And right now, Shedeur has it. Gabriel doesn't. So where does that leave the Browns? on a collision course with their own indecision. Because every day they stall, every day they leave Shedeur buried behind a guy who's losing the trust of the fan base in the locker room, they risk blowing this whole thing up. This isn't just about picking a starter. It's about sending a message. Do you reward composure, work ethic, and performance? Or do you protect egos and reputations at the expense of your own future? Because make no mistake, Shedeur Sanders is the future. The Browns just have to decide if they're brave enough to admit it now, or if they'll be the latest franchise to let a good thing slip through their fingers out of fear. And here's something nobody's saying out loud, but everyone is thinking. If Shedeur gets passed over now, he's one trade request away from becoming the Browns' next headline disaster. You don't treat your breakout rookie like a backup and expect him to stay loyal, especially not when other teams are watching, especially not when the entire country saw what happened with the Dillon Gabriel drama. Rams, Falcons, Patriots, Broncos. Teams are watching this mess and thinking, if Cleveland's dumb enough to waste Shedeur, we'll take him. And when that happens, the Browns don't just lose a quarterback, they lose credibility. So what's next? Fans are already organizing a campaign on social media to demand Stefanski name Shedeur the starter before the final preseason game. There's talk of banners, hashtags, petitions. People are not playing anymore. This has become personal. And you know what's wild? All of this, every bit of it, could have been avoided with one simple move. Just let Shedeur compete on equal ground. That's all anyone asked for. Let him prove it. Let him rise or fall based on play, not politics. But instead, the Browns tried to manage the optics. They kept Gabriel in a protected spot, hoping he'd live up to the hype. And now, they're stuck defending a guy who has alienated the locker room, embarrassed himself publicly, and underperformed in every measurable way. Meanwhile, Shedeur keeps showing them what leadership actually looks like. So is Stefanski serious about building a team culture based on accountability? If he really believes in letting the best man win? If he's trying to write a different story in Cleveland after decades of quarterback disasters? Then the choice is simple. Cut Gabriel. Start Shedeur. Own it. Because this isn't just a quarterback controversy anymore. It's a referendum on how the Cleveland Browns handle greatness when it's staring them in the face. And right now, the ball's in Stefanski's hands. Let's see if he fumbles it. The Cleveland Browns are standing at a crossroads, and every fan, analyst, and even rival players watching to see if they'll do what this franchise has historically not done. Make the right call when it matters most. Because keeping Dillon Gabriel on the roster after everything that's happened, that's not just a coaching decision anymore. That's a statement. A statement that says, we're more comfortable protecting our mistakes than empowering our breakthroughs. Let's just call it what it is. This isn't about skill sets anymore. This has long since stopped being about who has the tighter spiral or the cleaner drop back. This is about energy. This is about culture. This is about identity. And right now, Dillon Gabriel represents everything Cleveland fans are sick of. The arrogance without the resume, the talking without the leading, the privilege of opportunity, while someone else is earning theirs in silence. Shedeur Sanders, on the other hand, he represents something fresh, something honest, something that looks a lot like hope in a city that spent 2 decades getting its heart broken by quarterback roulette. So, when fans call for Gabriel to be cut, not just bench cut, it's not coming from a place of pettiness or overreaction. It's coming from a place of being tired. Tired of watching the guy who plays it safe, says the wrong things, and underperforms continue to get chances, while the guy with poise, with hunger, with actual upside is left waiting. Let's talk about body language, because that's where a quarterback wins or loses a locker room. No matter what the press clippings say, players see everything. They know who's sulking. They know who's rolling their eyes in huddles. They know who's only giving 90% in walk throughs because they feel entitled to the job. And sources say Gabriel? He's been checked out since the moment Shedeur started getting buzz. He's not mentoring. He's not encouraging. He's surviving. Contrast that with Shedeur, who's lifting guys up after reps, taking mental notes during other QB's drives, staying out on the field with rookies to run extra timing drills. And the most telling part? He doesn't even have the job yet. That's leadership without the title. And fans? They can tell. They're watching this unfold like a Netflix drama in real time. Except this time, they're not just spectators, they're participants. They're pushing the Browns with every comment, every chant, every viral clip. You know who else is watching? The players' agents. And they're already doing the math. Because if the Browns keep Gabriel around after everything, if they quietly move Shedeur down the depth chart again, or reevaluate the situation just to save face, then the league knows what kind of message that sends to every player walking into that building. It says, merit doesn't matter here. Politics do. And that's a death sentence for team chemistry. You can't preach accountability in team meetings and then protect a quarterback who threw his teammate under the bus before earning a single ounce of credibility. That's how you fracture a locker room permanently. And this isn't just about offense anymore. Defensive players have started to take sides, too. Word is that after Gabriel's entertainer's comment, a handful of veterans pulled him aside in the locker room. Not to start something, but to make one thing very clear. Respect matters, even when you're fighting for a job, especially when you're not the best player on the field. And then there's Stefanski, caught right in the middle of it all. He's trying to hold the line, try and keep things in-house, but the cracks are showing. His press conferences have turned into exercises in verbal gymnastics. He's dodging questions like he's on a political debate stage. But fans are past the point of accepting we'll see how things play out. They've seen it play out. On the field, on the sidelines, on the faces of every player reacting to this mess in real time. And don't forget this little gem. Shedeur was never supposed to be in this position. He wasn't brought in to compete for QB1 in year one. The plan was to stash him, let him develop behind the scenes. But he forced this conversation. He worked his way into the spotlight, not with Instagram clips or public beefs, but with consistency. Every rep, every throw, every quiet, confident move. And that's what's driving the fans wild right now. Because the one guy who's checked every box, poise, accountability, raw talent, leadership, is being treated like an inconvenience to the depth chart, like a problem that needs managing. So now the Browns are boxed in. If they cut Gabriel, they risk admitting they got it wrong. If they don't cut him, they risk losing the locker room. And honestly, at this point, the bigger risk is keeping him. You think Shedeur is going to forget all this? You think players are going to move on like it never happened? No, this isn't college. This isn't a clean slate environment. This is the NFL. And in the NFL, if you mishandle a breakout star, especially a quarterback, you don't just lose him. You lose the locker room. You lose the season. You lose the city. And let's not pretend this is just about 2025. This is about the next 5 years. The Browns have a chance to build something real around a quarterback who's already showing the mental edge you can't teach. And they're about to blow it because they're too afraid to cut bait on a guy who talked himself into a corner. Here's the wildest part of all. Gabriel still could have had a future, had he just owned it. Had he said, I got too caught up in the moment. It wasn't about Shedeur. He's earned my respect. But he didn't. He danced around it. He minimized it. And that told everyone what they needed to know, that he's not ready, not to lead, not to compete with humility, not to be the guy when the pressure's on. So now the call is simple. You either build around a guy who's already acting like a franchise quarterback, or you protect the one who's proving he never should have been in the room to begin with. The fans have spoken. The players have spoken. Now it's time for Stefanski and the front office to speak. And what they say, by action, not words, will define everything that comes next. Let's be brutally honest. If the Browns don't make a move now, they risk turning Shedeur Sanders into yet another Cleveland what-if story. And this one would sting worse than Manziel, Quinn, or even Baker. Because unlike those guys, Shedeur didn't ask for hype. He didn't walk in with a brand or a billboard. He earned every ounce of momentum the hard way, in practice, on the field, and under a microscope. But here we are, somehow still having a conversation about whether Dillon Gabriel deserves a roster spot. And that question, it's getting louder by the hour. Let's talk dollars and cents. Because this isn't just about emotion anymore. There's a cold, financial logic to this debate. 2. Gabriel's rookie contract isn't massive. Cutting him wouldn't kill the cap. Keeping him, though, that comes at a cost no front office can afford. Dividing your fan base and poisoning your locker room. And if anyone in the Browns front office thinks they can ride this thing out quietly, they're out of their minds. The longer they wait to make a decision, the more chaotic it gets. Every day without clarity is a day the narrative gets wilder, and Cleveland? It's not exactly a town known for letting quarterback drama fade into the background. We've seen this movie before. Quarterback controversy, passive-aggressive pressers, fans begging for change while coaches pretend they're evaluating. The only difference now, the guy fans are rallying around, is the one who hasn't made a single mistake. Shedeur hasn't thrown shade. He hasn't cracked under pressure. He hasn't given the media a single soundbite they could twist. That kind of discipline, that's rare, especially for a rookie, and even rarer in Cleveland. You'd think that kind of profile would make him untouchable. But instead, he's somehow stuck fighting for a job against a quarterback who's been less consistent, less composed, and far less liked by the locker room and the fans. Which begs the real question, why is Gabriel still here? If this were any other position, the decision would have been made already. Imagine a cornerback openly throwing his teammate under bus, then getting torched in practice. He's gone by Tuesday. A receiver fumbling every third catch and blaming the playbook? Way before lunch. But because it's a quarterback, and because the team spent time investing in Gabriel, suddenly, the rules are different. It's not about best player wins anymore. It's about optics. It's about not looking reactionary. It's about giving him a fair shot. Okay, but what about fair Shedeur? Where's his fair shot? Because nothing about the way he's been treated has screamed fairness. It's been uphill from day one. He started behind guys with less natural talent and more built-in excuses. He's been evaluated through a microscope, while others get graded on a curve. And yet, he keeps showing up, keeps throwing dimes, keeps commanding respect. So what exactly is the hesitation? Fear? Politics? Is it the Dillon factor? Let's talk about that. 2. Yeah, Dillon sent that now infamous text to Gabriel. Yeah, it got leaked. And yeah, it probably made a few people in the Browns building uncomfortable. But here's the kicker. Shedeur had nothing to do with it. He didn't retweet it. He didn't defend it. He didn't even acknowledge it. And honestly, that should have been the end of the conversation. But instead, the entire franchise seems to be holding its breath, afraid of being perceived as playing favorites. Guess what? You don't have to play favorites when the favorite is winning outright. This isn't charity. It's not youth camp. It's professional football. The job goes to the best man. And if you're worried that giving Shedeur the nod will make it look like he got special treatment, then you haven't been watching. He's earned this the old-fashioned way, by being better. And now, with every day Gabriel remains on the roster, the front office is sending a different message. We'd rather double down on our mistake than reward our success. That kind of logic? That's how franchises stall out. That's how locker rooms implode. That's how you lose players. Not just your rookie QB, but the guys in every other room watching how leadership handles this. Because make no mistake, everyone's watching. From the offensive line to the practice squad, guys are paying attention. They know who deserves it. And if the team makes the wrong call, that message spreads like wildfire. It says, it doesn't matter what you do here. Some guys are protected. Some guys get babied. Some guys are uncuttable. That's the kind of message that breaks trust. And once trust is gone, so is buy-in. So is unity. So yeah, when fans say cut Gabriel, they're not overreacting. They're reacting to the writing on the wall. They're reacting to a season that's already teetering on chaos before it's even started. And as for Shedeur, the longer this circus goes on, the more impressive he becomes. Because he could have cracked. He could have fed the controversy. He could have turned this into a me versus the system crusade. Instead, he's just stayed locked in. Because somewhere deep down, he knows what we all know. He's already won. It's just a matter of whether the franchise is smart enough to admit it. Or if they'll once again find themselves asking what went wrong halfway through a losing season, knowing full well they had the answer sitting on the bench the whole time. And if you're Stefanski, if you're Andrew Barry, You better make the move soon, because the more you delay this decision, the more you make it harder to undo the damage. And if you don't be surprised when Shedeur takes his talent somewhere else and turns into the player you could have built your franchise around. All you had to do was believe what your eyes, and every single fan in this city, already see. Shedeur Sanders is QB1. Now prove you're brave enough to act like it